Texas is taking a stand. Now that we have more information, now that we're making more informed decisions, Texas is now taking a stand against the migrant mandates that's being handed down by the Biden administration. But before we really deep dive into that, let me bring you up to speed of what's happening as far as this reformed border.
A federal court has reversed an order that required Texas to remove floating barriers from the Rio Grande.
So it means the barricades to deter illegal immigration can remain in place at least until a hearing in May. The defeat for the Biden administration comes as the president invited congressional leaders to the White House to discover a path forward on the border. Fox 4's Blake Hansen joining us with the latest. Blake.
Yeah, Heather and Steve, there's been no agreement on a deal just yet, but some Senate leaders say they are hopeful for action as soon as next week. One of Texas's tools to combat the border crisis can remain in place for now. That after the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans reversed a December decision.
So it showed an interesting difference of opinion.
David Cole is a constitutional law attorney who has been closely following the case in front of the conservative Fifth Circuit. While a three-judge panel had sided with the Biden administration in December, Wednesday's decision means each of the circuit's 17 judges will now take a look in May.
So it seems that a majority of the court, they may not think the panel is wrong, but they certainly have some serious questions about how the panel got there on this question of federal versus state authority at the border, and they want to thoroughly air it out. So it's going to get a lot of scrutiny in May when this goes before the full Fifth Circuit.
While legal wrangling continues over border strategy, top congressional leaders gathered at the White House for a meeting with President Biden on the border. Lawmakers have been trying to hash out a deal that would provide aid to Ukraine in exchange for policy changes on border security.
I can't, it's to think that the thing that they standing on is border security over in exchange for aid for Ukraine, Taiwan, and the Israel war is insane to me. That's the chess piece. That's your chess move. Aid to Ukraine in exchange for border security. Now, border security is supposed to be your norm. That's like it's like you going into your household as a husband and you got your wife and you saying, listen, I'm not going to pay no bills, and anybody can come into this house whenever they want. We're not going to put no locks on the door. Anybody can come in, use my refrigerator, and we still got to make sure we take care of them, house them, and they're going to make us uncomfortable. And it don't really matter about what happened to our daughter, right? Look at the parallel. This is the equivalent, right? We are under duress from our leaders. We are children. We are my daughter and your son, right? And your daughter and your son, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, don't want our doors to be open and don't want the fact that they can't go into the refrigerator, they can't come out and use the restroom, or somebody is in their restroom and taking over their household. And then her parents say, well, listen, me and your mama is having a disagreement. Now, until we resolve this disagreement, I want to go out here and do some crazy stuff. I want to go out here and trick some money off on some hoes, right? Now, in exchange for me making sure that everybody is going on and taking care of their business and getting these people out of our household and securing our doors, your mama going to have to agree to let me spend our money that we both work for to go spend it and trick it off on some hoes. And meanwhile, we all, as children, are sitting around trying to understand, why are these people in our household eating up all of our food and we got to put them on our health care coverage? Because they taken away from the resources that actually can be going into her. And why do we now have a budget deficit? Why we got to start sleeping in the cold in this household because we can't pay the light bill? Because now, the budget that we had that was okay is blown out and we trying to figure out. And so us as residents, as children, go over to our mother and our father and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Fix what's going on. Change the locks in the house. Prevent people from just being able to walk in here. They shouldn't be that comfortable. They shouldn't be that comfortable. That's basically the equivalent. Literally. That is what we're dealing with, but except for the fact that it's on a national level, so we don't think that it affects us as much as it would, as it directly affects us with what's going on in our household. Unless you in New York, unless you in Denver, unless you in LA, unless you in Chicago, right? And so at what point, because you know what Texas is? Texas is the other resident. Texas is in the same building as us because this whole building is the United States of America, right? But because Texas is on the ground floor, Texas is on floor 1. Now, we as New York, Chicago, Denver, LA, we all on the top floor, right? We in a penthouse. So we've been hanging out. We've been enjoying all of the financial resources. It get a little bit colder up here because, it gets more windy as you go higher within whatever building that you're in. But we just been enjoying life. But Texas is on the ground floor. Louisiana, Florida, Phoenix, or Arizona, right? And they getting them all coming in. And so they said, you know what? We tired of the migrants that's continuing to come over in here, and y'all keep voting and telling everybody that's managing the property managers over here that it's okay. And y'all keep overriding us and y'all supporting this nonsense, and you keep letting the owners of the building let people coming in here without any kind of secure doors. I tell you what, we gonna start sending them up the elevator and letting them go where they want to go. And then the migrants start coming up and they say, yo, I want to come into Anton's place. And I want to come over to Yoke. I want to go to the Azriel's place. I want to go to Black Beauty's place. I want to go to Nurses Ain't Nice place. I want to go to Trini's Life place. And so then we saying, hey, we can't handle all of this. Texas, stop sending these people up here. But instead of us holding Texas accountable, we supposed to be getting on the property manager and the owners of the building because we should have more secure doors that does not allow for people to come in here that's not supposed to be here. So the logic of it doesn't make sense. And so we trying to figure out why you keep letting our doors open. Why is this intentional? Why are we seeing people with these shirts on and wife beaters, these young men that's walking over here with shirts on and wife beaters, coming through the water sweating, and we can't protect our own doors and we supposed to just leave it open for everybody else?
Put the chances a little bit greater than half now. And that's the first time I can say that.
Republican leadership did not strike as optimistic of a note.
We understand that there's concern about the safety, security, sovereignty of Ukraine, but the American people have those same concerns about our own domestic sovereignty and our safety and our security.
But amid recent comments from Johnson expressing skepticism about a broader immigration deal, Senate Republicans reiterated Wednesday the need to act now.
To my Republican colleagues, this is a historic moment to reform the border in a way that would give tools to the next president they don't have today and lessen the flow to take pressure off people in Texas and Arizona.
So let's back up for a minute. Because as this happens and as they continue to use you, the American people, as hostages, because you still paying your taxes, you paying your HOA fees. Remember our analogy that we're talking about as far as Texas being at the ground floor, Louisiana being at the ground floor, right? We all still paying the same HOA fees. We all still making sure that we paying our monies, but we being held hostage against our will because we don't have anywhere else to go when they telling us, hey, if you don't like it, then go get your passport and move into another building. In the meantime, Texas agents is now getting a little bit swifter. They own it. The people that's at the bottom of the building, they said, listen, we don't care. We're about to start arresting these people and putting them out.
Texas has defied a request from the federal government to remove authorities from a public park along the U.S. border in Eagle Pass. State agents also began arresting migrants at the border against federal warnings last night. The Biden administration has argued the park's seizure has prevented Border Patrol agents from doing their job. And now the Department of Homeland Security is looking into possible legal solutions against state officials. So joining me now with more on this ongoing battle at the border is CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez. He's been following the story for us from New Jersey. Camilo, good to see you again this morning. We've been talking about this for several days now. The deadline has come and gone. And this morning, we have new video of Texas state troopers arresting migrants at Shelby Park. What is going on there? This is supposed to be, just to remind people, a federal responsibility. It's not the responsibility of state authorities.
That's right, Anne-Marie. Good morning. Traditionally, arresting migrants who cross into the U.S. illegally has been a federal responsibility under the laws passed by Congress and the regulations of the federal government. But now we are seeing the Texas Department of Public Safety, the state troopers, if you will, in Texas, arrest some migrants at Shelby Park, that area that it has sealed off to the broader public and Border Patrol. And they are doing this as part of a broader initiative to arrest migrants who are alleged to have trespassed on private property. Texas troopers have been arresting single adult males and females on trespassing charges for over 2 years now, and they have been doing so with the consent of private property owners who have to sign affidavits. In this case, the city of Eagle Pass, Anne-Marie, has signed an affidavit that allows the state to arrest these migrants on trespassing charges. These migrants are typically arrested, booked into one of the local county jails, and then jailed for weeks or even months until they plead guilty, or they are convicted, or they are able to pay some sort of bond to get out of state custody. They after that are typically arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, another federal agency, and then they are released. So this is basically an effort to jail and prosecute some migrants who are crossing into the U.S. illegally. And the state actually hopes to expand this initiative, Anne-Marie, through SB 4, that state law that we have talked about before. This will allow the state to arrest migrants like they're doing so now, but without the consent of local property owners. It will be a crime to cross into Texas illegally anywhere along the U.S.-Mexico border.
So
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Shouldn't it be a crime to cross over illegally? I mean, isn't that the whole idea of it being illegal? Shouldn't it be a crime to cross over anywhere illegally over into the United States of America without permission or authority? I could be off. When the headline now says Texas defies federal threat to abandon the border area. Now, why would the federal government threaten the state of Texas to not secure its own borders? Just think about this for a minute. It sounds like the craziest thing that I've ever seen in my lifetime. The federal government is threatening a state to abandon its own border area. What in God's name are we experiencing right now? Now, Texas is the bad guy, and I actually seen some black people talking about this on the app the other day, and they are mad at Texas for securing its own borders and not abiding by the requirements and the threats that's being made by the federal government to abandon its own borders. That is the most insane request that I've ever heard of in my entire life from the federal government over into a state. Even these sanctuary cities mayors are complaining, and they are afraid to really say Biden's name for whatever reason. He the boogeyman. They are complaining and saying, listen, we can't officially say that we really need to secure the borders. So we just going to ask for money and ask for assistance. And they say, no, y'all cut off too. Who pissed off y'all pimp? Now everybody got to suffer. You remember on Hustle and Flow? When the other girls was in the room and they was like, just be quiet. Just be quiet. DJ is coming in. And then the other one that had the baby, the stripper, she was in there and she was like, I ain't being quiet. I'm going to say what I want to say. That's us. Each one that was in that movie is a different state. Taraji P. Henson, the white girl. And then eventually DJ just got pissed off. And the one that he threw out is New York. It's Eric Adams. Because Eric Adams started getting them inquiries. Yeah, they started raiding the house of his campaign advisors and taking his electronic devices, trying to see where his ties in as far as benefiting financially with Turkey. Yeah, the good old boys network. They said, look, we're going to hit you where it hurts. Oh, you want to talk to us? You want to say my name? You want to say my name? You want to say you came over to Washington? Oh, I got something for you. We got a Me Too charge for you. We got this federal investigation. We got a raid coming to your house. We got all of this stuff that's going to happen to you. Now, you better be quiet. Now, you see Brandon Johnson, he won't even say the boogeyman's name. He won't say Mike Johnson over there in Denver. Shh. Karen Bass over there in LA. Shh. Boogeyman is coming. Boogeyman is coming.
As you know, the federal government has asked Texas to lift this policy, gave Texas a deadline. And yesterday, the Texas Attorney General responded to Homeland Security's letter ordering state officials to vacate Shelby Park.
Let me just say something really quickly. Somebody said it in the chat. I think it was A.R. Smitty. I know that this woman is a little bit more seasoned, but I got a thing for older women. I'm not into the young girls. I'm just saying. All I'm saying and what I'm saying is,
Park. I can imagine what was in that letter, but give us a sense of how the attorney
I like a little seasoning on my chicken.
general has responded.
Well, Anne-Marie, Texas is not backing down. That is essentially what the state attorney general, Ken Paxton, said in that letter responding to the Department of Homeland Security's demand that the state stop blocking federal Border Patrol agents from this public park in Eagle Pass in that border town in Texas. Now we know that the Department of Homeland Security will refer this matter to the Justice Department for potential legal action. That could be a lawsuit that is filed against the state of
Come on through, Travis Slay, messy mathematician. I'm going to wait for y'all tonight.
State of Texas that seeks to compel the state authorities to get out of this park and allow Border Patrol back in. The state of Texas is arguing that this is not unconstitutional, as the Biden administration has argued. They argue that they have sweeping authority, Anne-Marie, to take this action to defend the state from what they claim is federal inaction to stop illegal border crossing.
So basically, Texas is continuing to binge all over. He Pulp Fiction and y'all, Ving Rhames and Pulp Fiction. And he continued to threaten Texas. But we all got to make sure that we hold down and pray for Governor Greg Abbott. Because I'm going to just tell you, if anybody deserve our prayers, it's Governor Greg Abbott. We need him to continue to do the Lord's work. And we don't want him to get distracted and focus on anything other than taking care of business. And since he's the only person, it seems like, that can stand up to big bad Biden.